What is going on, RotoGrinders? Dean here. It's Dean 7904 if you want to get all technical. I mean, it's 5:30 on the dot on the East Coast, 2:30 on the West Coast, 4:30 Tennessee time, which, of course, that means it's time for the flagship show here at RotoGrinders. It's called Grinderslive. 8 games, despite the fact it's 8 games, we're going full 3-man booth, batting first, leading off. Stevie TPFL. You might know him from such things as NASCAR and the Morning Grind. What's going on, Stevie?
Listen, Dean, I know I haven't hit leadoff in a long time. I'm fat and old now, man. I don't run like I used to, but it's going good. This slate's interesting. Like, I really haven't changed much of what I talked about on the podcast today. This slate really hasn't changed for me a lot.
First of all, doesn't matter how fat and old you are. If you bang it over the fence, you can go as slow as you want. Well, I don't know, because the old men of the game might say you're going too slow. You got to speed it up. You can't just watch it and trot and the whole thing. There's unwritten rules are the way of the future, apparently. That's a hot button topic these days. But, yeah, by interesting slate, you mean terrible? It's a terrible slate. Let's be honest. This is a gross slate.
I like this slate, but I was the one that stacked Atlanta Washington yesterday, so don't listen to me.
Hey, you know what? Shout out to Kevin Roth. Kevin Roth, chief meteorologist here at RotoGrinders. I mean, I don't want to say chief by default, but he's the only meteorologist. But that's all. We only need him. We don't need anybody else. He's the guy. he is the man. He'll be on Crunch Time later on today. I believe it's Cardi, Tuttle, and Roth. If there's any weather issues out there, he'll be all over it. But yesterday, watching the show, he didn't just flat out say you can't play it, but he sounded very pessimistic, and so pessimistic that I got all my Washington guys out. Got all my Atlanta guys out. As much as I love that game, it hurt. But then I took the victory lap, the fist pump when I saw that game was canceled. And it was a good day for baseball yesterday. It was good either way, but it would have been a little bit worse probably if that game played. But, things worked out well for me. Hey, I'm burying the lead. It's the debut on Grinderslive for one Keith Eister. Keith. We're not really sure what we're going to call him. Keith, if you don't know who Keith is, by the way, if you guys aren't aware, he does some content at RG, fairly new. He's only 10th in the heavyweight division, according to the RG rankings. Out of 19,240 people ranked for baseball, he's 17th, 40th in Player of the Year as well. If you check out the RG rankings. Keith, what's going on, dude?
Not a whole lot. Thanks for the intro. Flattered.
Yeah. Well, I know you're not going to come out and say it, but I pulled up your RotoGrinders page. I'm like, let's see, how good, how impressive this resume is. I'm like, well, wow. And you don't mess around. You're with the heavyweights. You're with the big boys. No matter what the contest size is, you're in.
Yeah,
that seems to be the case. I think this is a gross slate. Hey, I'm playing. I'm for sure playing, and I actually kind of sort of feel good about my lineup. We'll see before everything's. It always looks great before the games go down. Do you like this slate? And hey, what kind of player are you? Are you a tournament guy? Are you a cash guy? Are you somebody that plays 150 lineups? Do you play 3 lineups? Does it depend on the night? What are we doing tonight?
So I generally play both cash and tournaments. If I had to pick, I would say large fields is kind of my specialty and where I found some success here over the last year or two. So I don't make 150 generally on a baseball slate. I'm more in the 80 to 100 range.
Fair enough. I see in the chat, what's up, YouTube chat? Feel free to like and subscribe. I do appreciate that. And hey, participate in the chat too. Say hello. When we're talking about certain positions, feel free to throw out some names out there that you're interested in. Somebody's talking about Trevor Williams has the COVID, passed it on. By the way, somebody tested positive in the Marlins. It's not in the main slate, 6 o'clock game, but I think it was a Met tested positive, so that's awful for COVID. So that Marlins game was canceled. There was somebody misreported or somebody misinterpreted a report earlier today. Apparently, somebody in the front office for Pittsburgh is named something like Trevor Williams, like Teddy Williams or Tommy Williams, and he has COVID, and people thought it was Trevor Williams. Trevor Williams does not have COVID, to my understanding, unless something just happened in the last 20 minutes or so. Cheese wrote about this today in his article in the Musings. But, it's somebody else with a similar name, and it was misreported. I think even Roto World was on it, or RotoWire, or a bunch of other sources, DK as well. But, as far as I know, Stevie, were you aware of this happening, any of these shenanigans?
Nope. I was watching CSGO.
How did that go for you?
It's going well so far. We'll see. I have my captain plays in this last game, so I'm going to try to pay attention to the baseball show.
Are you watching the CSGO at a multi-screen experience? You're watching the chat. You're watching the baseball lineups and things like that, and you also have the game up. Is that what's going on over there?
No, I should. I was looking up the team name from this hat because you had asked me. So I was doing that. It's the Beer City Bung Hammers.
What kind of hammers?
The Bung Hammers.
Bung Hammers?
Bung, B-U-N-G, Bung Hammers.
Keith, are we aware
West
of the
Michigan Whitecaps?
And we surmised, context clues, that it's a Milwaukee affiliation. Is that the presumption? Does that make sense?
Yeah, West Michigan Whitecaps.
Okay. Well, the beer and all right. Well, yeah, it's a sweet. You have a thing for minor league hats, right? Isn't that like a whole collection of them?
Yeah, I have probably like 40 or 50 of them. I just buy ones that look cool. Like, I was looking up and I found like 4 or 5 more hats. My wife's gonna freaking hate me. So she gets I have a hat rack in the by where we walk in the front door that has over 140 hats in it, and it drives her nuts. So
wow, that's a lot of hats.
Just a few.
You only have one head, to my knowledge.
Sometimes, it gets bigger. No, I'm just kidding.
We're going to move on from that one. 8 games going on tonight. Oh, SharpSide app, Stevie. We pick a SharpSide winner. If you get you go streaking, you get 5 or 6 in a row. You start getting some FanDuel bucks out of that. Devin, our fabulous multitasking producer, is going to go ahead and drop a link in chat for you guys to check it out, the SharpSide app. And I think we have it up on the screen. I don't know who your winner is. Who'd you lock in? It's got to be minus 140 or better. You can't go ahead and lock in the Dodgers. You don't get credit for that because everybody assumes the Dodgers are going to win. You got to be a little bit more ambitious than that. Who do you have as far as your winner in the SharpSide app tonight?
I took the over in the Red Sox Orioles game. It was at 10 minus 106. My streak's at 6, so I'm gonna try to pile on another $10 over there on FanDuel. I feel like that game is probably my favorite game on the slate. We have some really, really bad pitching, good hitting weather. Why not, lock and load on that game?
Keith, what do you have for us? Who's your winner?
So I'm a little bit off the board today. I've got the over in the Angels Giants game. I've got respect for Gaussman, but the bullpen behind him isn't great. And I'm really expecting the San Francisco offense to kind of carry the load here. Suarez making his first start of the season, I believe. And this Giants offense has been pretty good. Yastrzemski against lefties has been killing it ever since he came up. And there's some other power in that lineup. So I like the over in that game.
Not just that. I should have picked San Fran straight up. I like San Fran straight up. I'll tell you, I'll get my winner in a second. I love the way Gaussman was pitching fabulous last time. You said you respect him too, and I respect him. We'll talk about him. I think he's an interesting SP too. He's really cheap on DK, but you don't really want to pick in the Angels lineup because it's pretty good. They don't strike out a ton outside like Joe Adell, but top prospect. Get excited. Joey Bart got the call up. We hate rostering catchers on DK. Joey Bart, batting 6th, uber prospect. 2.6K on DK. Is the secret out? Do people notice to play Joey Bart at 2.6K? I don't know, but I don't really know how sharp people are. But I just saw the lineup drop, and they're not backloading him. He's in front of Ruff and the great bats of Brandon Crawford and Mauricio Dobon. But I'm excited about Joey Bart. That's one thing to get excited about this slate tonight, is it not, Keith?
Yeah, I love it. I'm going to have a ton of him. So tons of power. That ballpark is playing differently this year. So yeah, I'm all in on Joey Bart.
Yeah, is that the other part of it? And you mentioned the bullpen for San Francisco, and I was looking at this a few days ago, and their bullpen had at least 4, maybe 5 more home runs yielded as a collective, more than the second worst team in the league, which seems bad. That seems like a lot of home runs. Whatever that number is, it was like 25 or 26. I can't recall what it was, but the bullpen's been terrible for San Francisco. Yeah,
and the Angels too. So
yeah, and it's kind of sort of a bullpen game for Anaheim. That's what we're expecting. Los Angeles, I guess that's the whole full technical term there. If you want to get all technical here. All right, let's talk about the slate. Stevie, we're going to talk pitchers in a second, but give me the overview because, Boston and Baltimore are kind of popping. You got the Dodgers on the roads. They're locked in for 9. Not this great ballpark, but who knows what they're going to get at Kikuchi coming back. He also is coming back from the DL. I believe he had a strain in his neck. So what's jumping out for us? Because most of the slate is just kind of sort of meh. I like the pitchers more than I like the hitters. You can't roster 6 pitchers and no hitters. It doesn't work that way. DK will not accept it. Stevie, give me like the your screenshot as far as this slate.
I just put 3 more hats in my cart. I'm gonna blame it on Dean. Listen, I feel like there's a lot of pitching options for a small slate. I feel like there's a lot of different ways that you could be different on this slate. Like, Shane Bieber and Clayton Kershaw, Sonny Gray, like they're the clear-cut top pitching options, but like there's not a lot of different ways to be different with offense. So like I feel like today is more of like play maybe an ownership type of game, and maybe take some shots on like a Kevin Gausman or like one of these guys that are cheap. Cleveland's been terrible, so like Trevor Williams. So like there's a lot of different ways you can be different on a slate where there's a lot of chalk, and it's not bad chalk. That's what's crazy, right? Like,
Yeah.
So overview for me is like I am playing Shane Bieber as much as I can, and I think Clayton Kershaw might be back, so he's much lower owned, so I think he's interesting for tournaments.
Does he have to be back against the Mariners?
But like his velocity's up, a couple miles an hour. His stuff looks great. Like he's attacking hitters. Like, this might be like Clayton Kershaw, like bouncing back and maybe finally somewhat healthy. Like he's never going to be Clayton Kershaw from like 4 or 5 years ago where like he's the best pitcher in baseball. He's not ever going to be that again. But I don't think he's Clayton Kershaw of 2019 anymore.
Yeah, which they're kind of sort of asking for a little bit. Well, we'll talk about it. We'll dig into it. Hey, I forgot my pick, by the way, in the SharpSide. And I have a streak of 1. And Stevie, why do I have a streak of 1? It's because I always forget to hit the lock button. And Devin always busts me and says, like, I didn't realize, like, for a while there, my password wasn't linking up and I couldn't get to the SharpSide. So I was just like taking pictures like this is the team I would play. But I finally figured it out. I know how to lock it up. I went ahead. This worked a couple days ago. We're doing it again on the run line. We had a couple days ago, we had Darvish in the run line, like minus 105 or something like that. Dinelson Lamet is just going to shut down this terrible Texas team. Interesting tournament play from a DFS perspective, even like an SP2. I think is certainly in consideration. He doesn't go very long, but he's going to rack up a bunch of Ks against this K-happy Texas side. Just seeing the lineup now. We'll dig into it in a second, but yeah, I think, and I like the San Diego power bats over Kirk Gibson. Kirk Gibson, he's like old and he doesn't throw baseballs anymore. Kyle Gibson. So the Padres on the run line part is the minus 1.5. I think it's basically a coin toss or like plus 105 or minus 105, but I like them to win the game tonight. 6-1 or something like that. There you go. There's your final score. All right. Let's talk about Biebs, the Bieber. Talk to me about eyes. Well, how much are we locking in Bieber on this 8-game slate where, at least in my estimation, the arms are more enticing than the bats, and Bieber is clearly not even a conversation, the best arm. How much are you just pushing him in all your lineups?
So I thought I was going to be really heavy on him. I was hoping that Kershaw, Lamet, Sonny Gray would take some ownership. It looks like we've got him projected way up there at 41%. A little bit more of a decision now. But in researching the slate, his K rate's over 40% this year. I mean, he's just absolutely been dominant to start this year. And then his opponent, the Pirates, didn't strike out hardly at all last year. They were around like a 19% K rate. But this year it's up over 24%. So I think this is an elite matchup. The ownership is not ideal, but I think he's going to be probably in half my lineups.
Yeah, I think he might be in all of mine, at least on DK, on FanDuel. My cash game pitcher, I think I can make it work. It's like you get like 2.8 per stick on FanDuel, and I think it's still not that hard to get mostly what I want. Stevie, can you make an argument as far as not playing Bieber today?
No. Like, like he's not like 12-6 or anything. Like there's so many cheap bats on FanDuel. It's like ridiculously easy to fit him in over there too. So there's no argument for me. Like, honestly, he's the best pitcher on the slate. Pittsburgh ranks in the bottom and almost every stat against right-handed pitching this season. Like, it's just like Cheese says it all the time. Like, don't overthink this spot. And like, that's what I'm doing with Bieber today. I'm not overthinking it. Like, I'm playing Bieber in a ballpark upgrade against an offense that's been really bad this season against right-handed pitching.
Yeah, so this season, 2020, 34.2 innings. He's got 54 strikeouts and 6 walks. That's just absolutely ridiculous as far as the K to walk ratio. Is giving up 4 homers and 5 runs. So the only runs he's given up is 4 solo home runs, essentially. Maybe one guy was on the other one. Not really sure. Just for fun, I pulled up the lineup HQ here. We have one extreme umpire today. You know who it is? It's the umpiring, going to call him balls and strikes for Bieber. Extreme pitchers, umpires. So if you're thinking about fading it, just a little more reason not to do it. Of course you can, goofy things happen, but I think that arms are more predictive than bats. And I just, his K rate this year, like you were saying, 41, 42, 43%. If you extended back to last year, Stevie, the bigger K rate. Now we take on the bigger sample size last year and this year, of course, all these guys are fluid and they're changing and all that. Dinelson Lamet has a bigger K rate, just barely than Bieber. The tricky part with him is if he has one of those innings where he labors and throws 27 pitches or something like that, they still baby him, kid gloves. He's going to throw 90 pitches, maybe 91, 92, no more than that probably. You're begging for the quality start on FanDuel, but again, that Texas lineup is giving you so many strikeouts. As an SP2, is Lamet the guy that's popping for you? Because he's one of the guys popping for me.
If you're asking me, I wasn't paying attention. It was lightning and thunder. My wife and kids are out on a walk.
Are you watching?
No. My kids are out. My kids and wife are out for a walk, and it's thundering and lightning. I was sending my wife a screenshot of the weather. I like Lamet a lot. I think Texas stinks. Like if you can not give up home runs to Gallo and some of these guys, like they're one of the worst teams in baseball this season, and like it's very underrated because like you look at their lineup and it's guys that we've targeted to hit play for years now. So I feel like people are just really biased when it comes to picking pitchers against Texas, and Lamet should dominate this team. So it's really easy to play Lamet, Bieber on DraftKings. I think Lamet is a cheaper option on FanDuel if you don't want to pay all the way up for Bieber. But I like Lamet a lot. I think his upside is really solid in this spot. The only thing that's kind of standing out is Kevin Gausman is currently sitting at a lot of ownership down towards the bottom. So I am more inclined to, pay up at two pitching spots because, we got Jake the GOAT Cronenworth at second base who's way underpriced. So I'm paying up a lot of pitcher tonight. I'm not going to be too different. I would take a shot maybe on Kikuchi if I was going to go down instead of paying Chalk Gausman, who looked really good last time out. But yeah, Lamet is really the guy that I'm looking at as an SP2 on my main builds right now.
Yeah, I just took a quick look at the lineup HQ, Stevie, and I believe you're screen sharing as well. Bieber, and then obviously this is fluid and the numbers are going to change. There's still an hour and 20 minutes or so from first pitch. But Bieber at 41% on DK. Sonny Gray we'll talk about in a second, 29%. Gausman at 26, Lamet at 22, and I don't know. I think Lamet probably should be a little bit higher. Kershaw at 16, we'll talk about in a second as well too. We'll kind of expand on that. But all right, Keith, your thoughts as far as Lamet? Let's see. Against righties, he gets 36% strikeouts, almost 37% if you round up that decimal point. 30% of strikeout against lefties. We're seeing 5 righties in this lineup. Collectively, his Texas lineup strikes out at 24.7%. What's beautiful is he doesn't go very deep. Maybe he'll go 6 innings or something like that. But the top, it's front-loaded, Keith. We got front-loaded lineup with 3 dudes that strike out at least 28%. Santana at 28.4%. Odor batting third at 30%. Gallo, he's obviously, scary in the box to some extent, but he misses a lot. If I could face 9 Joey Gallos, I'd love it. I'll go 3 or 4 homers, solo jobs, I suppose, and then otherwise we'll strike out 14. Keith, is Lamet somebody you're prioritizing as an SP2 or maybe on FanDuel as your top guy to get a different shuffle from Bieber?
Yeah, I love him as an SP2 on DraftKings. I will definitely be over the field in tournaments. Stevie touched on it. I'm going to be paying up at pitcher today. I like a couple of cheap offenses we'll get into later, but I'm all about the top guys at pitching. Kershaw has looked phenomenal. He's in an outstanding matchup. So in cash, I think it's Bieber, and then it's either Kershaw or Lamet for me. Yeah,
that's pretty much where I'm at as well. And I like my bats, and basically it's going to cost you another bat, maybe a bat and a half or something like that. And their DK is giving you some cheapies out there. The difference from the floor to the ceiling is greater than it's ever been. We see 6K guys, but now we see guys. Is the dude for Arizona that's leading off 2K or something like that on DK? Is that still happening? I believe that's still happening. Well, now we're just scrambling and look. Yeah, Tim LaCosta. Tim LaCosta is not somebody you're excited about rostering, but he's 2.4K and he's leading off. And if he gets you everything else you want, sure, by all means, have at it. If it costs you a bat or two, just lock in those, double barrel arms. It's pretty nice. Expand on Kershaw, the difference in Kershaw versus Lamet, because I'm kind of going back and forth, and I usually make 2 main lineups, and I'm probably going to split those 2 as far as my pitchers. I don't want to take a stand apparently, but Where are you at right now as far as your preference? Like, it sounds like you like both, obviously, Kershaw and Lamet.
I do, yeah. It's the Seattle lineup is really weak. There's Kyle Lewis is really the only one I'm truly fearing. Seager is okay against lefties, but Kershaw has dominated lefties in his career. I'm not concerned about that. Some guy named Sam Haggerty is leading off. This lineup doesn't scare me at all. It looks like they only strike out 20%, but Kershaw has been in different form. Stevie touched on it. Like it looks like he's healthy now. The back has given him problems the last couple of years. His velocity is up. I really like what I've seen in his last 2 starts, and I think he's just going to dominate this Mariners lineup.
Stevie, I like Sonny Gray, but is today like not the day for Sonny Gray? Or, of course, if you're making 20 or 30 or 40 lineups, he's got to be in the conversation in your mix. Where do you prioritize Gray amongst the guys we've already talked about?
He's a top 3 guy for me. Like it's Bieber, Gray, and Lamet. Like Kershaw, like I'm fitting Kershaw in a couple lineups too. Like I only play 3 lineups, and like I'm almost all in on Bieber mixed in with Kershaw, Gray, and Lamet. I think you can make an argument for Gray over Lamet in cash games. Sonny Gray is a guy that I love to pick on for a long time, and like he's just finally taken that next step. Last year we really saw him kind of come into his own, and like the Cardinals lineup is trash. I'm going to pull up Plate IQ. Devin will pull it up for you guys here, but like we look at like this lineup for St. Louis for Sonny Gray, and like who are you afraid of? There's 5-6 guys with strikeout rates over 24%. Colton Wong batting leadoff. Like there's nothing to like beat you in this lineup anymore. Like the highest ISO on this team is Brad Miller, and like that's not going to keep up. The dude, he has 160 plate appearances. So like overall, like if you're looking at the Cardinals team, not only that, like they had a week off. Like as they were getting going, I talked about like how much that kind of seemed like it messed up the Phillies bats, but these guys just they don't scare me whatsoever. I think this is a great spot to go Sonny Gray. Like Dean is too easy. Like the pricing on this slate is too easy. Like you could double barrel pitching and get everything that you want on this slate. So like there's not even like an offense that I love that's like super expensive. Like maybe the Dodgers, but like you're hoping a lot of lefty comes through there. So there's not an offense that I love today. So I feel like it's really easy just to, stack the Boston-Baltimore game, stack Cincy, stack Oakland, and like pay up at pitching. Get some Giants in there, baby. Let's get some Giants in there. Like, yeah.
We got Bart. We have Slater leading off. Yastrzemski's a kind of.
Don't forget about Wilmer Flores, man.
Wilmer bangs lefties. Yeah, he's like 2.5 on FanDuel. It's like, oh yeah, he makes things work. If you want to play Bieber over there, I think he's my first baseman in my shell lineup right now. And that's kind of like Keith. It's like it's almost not fair, but like Gausman, we love your price. We appreciate what you've been doing. We're watching you. Not a great matchup, against the Angels. I don't think we line up just yet, but pretty contact heavy. Trout, Pujols doesn't strike out much. Listella doesn't strike out much. Adele, you want to see popping up there. He's been overmatched from what I've seen so far in the majors. Big prospect, obviously. Hopefully he gets there one day, but not today. That's the issue with Gausman is like there's not that many bats I have to pay up for. Gausman's fine, but I also think he's outclassed when you compare him against these other guys.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm definitely going to be underweight on Gausman. Trout, Rendon, 2 of the top hitters in baseball. The lineup doesn't strike out that much. I do appreciate Gausman's skills, and I think he's really turned a corner since the end of last year. But I'm going to be underweight today.
That splitter, I think it was a splitter he had working last game. It was absolutely ridiculous. He just kept swinging and missing every single time. I think Semien got up for a homer or something like that. Otherwise, it was just a super impressive performance. Any other pitch? Like my pitching pool is really thin. Brios is just. I mean, I know his Milwaukee lineup is bad. Brios just. I mean, it doesn't matter who's standing there. They think he's pitching against himself sometimes. He just walks so many dudes. We know the skills there, but I don't think he's quite put it together. Woodruff's another guy. He's got a good arm. I don't know how much I want to pick on Minnesota. I don't know how much I have to. But like, there's really nothing else here. I mean, Eovaldi, maybe you catch him on the right night against Baltimore. That Baltimore lineup's better. But it's still in the backload of it's pretty awful actually today. I don't know how much beyond, Keith, as far as the guys we talked about, them expanding. If you're rolling out 60 lineups, sure, I guess you work in some Woodruff. I guess you work in a pinch of Barrios. But otherwise, I can't get excited about much else.
Yeah, Woodruff would be the other guy for me. I think another guy that's taken a step forward from last year. He looks like a legitimate ace at this point. Minnesota, as you mentioned, obviously a scary offense, but his stuff is taking steps forward, and I think Woodruff is turning into a true ace. So I'm going to sprinkle in some Woodruff.
Yeah, Stevie, your thoughts on Woodruff, your thoughts on anybody else that might be worth talking about, or it's a pretty tight core as far as your pitchers?
Barrios can win you a tournament. Like, both pitchers in that game, like the Milwaukee-Minnesota game, both of those guys can win you a tournament. So, like, if you're playing a bunch of tournament teams, like, they're both going to be under 10% owned. Barrios against that Milwaukee team. The Milwaukee lineup is just, outside of a couple guys, just really, really bad. So, like, Barrios can win you a tournament if his stuff is on. And Woodruff has pitched really well, and nobody's going to play him against Minnesota. So, like, those guys can win you tournaments. But, yeah, like, I had some love for Trevor Williams on the podcast this morning, and, like, I still don't hate the spot for him. Good ballpark. This offense has been very underwhelming this season, but, like, you just don't need him today. Like, that's my only issue. Like, I think, like, there's a road that Yusei Kikuchi pitches well against the Dodgers, but, like, you just don't need him today. Like, there's just so many cheap bats that I like. We were kind of laughing about the Giants, but, like, I love the Giants today. Like, when the news came out that Suarez was going to try to go a little bit in this game and it wasn't going to be like Andrisi and then the bullpen, like, I instantly shifted to like this spot for the Giants. So I think it's a good spot. The Angels bullpen, Andrisi's probably going to be the guy that comes in and works like 2 or 3 innings after Suarez, and like he is a guy that can pitch well, but like the rest of that bullpen is really bad. You look into the bullpen stats on that Angels team, and they're really, really bad. So as much as we were kind of laughing about it, Dean, like the Giants hitters are so cheap. And like you mentioned, Bart at catcher now, a catcher under 3K, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. Narrative Street, his first game in the majors. What teams have you bought so far? Are you buying some hats on the fly right now? What have you bought?
Hold on. I closed it.
I did a Google search. I did a Google search on like the 25 most fun like minor league names, whatever. The Isotopes, are the Isotopes still a thing? Because there was an homage to the Simpsons. I don't know. I'm sure the chat will throw.
I think I have an Isotopes hat.
Okay. You think it used to be the Marlins affiliate, but I don't think it is anymore.
No,
the Montgomery Biscuits, of course.
I do have the Biscuits hat. Yeah.
The Kannapolis Intimidators, of course. We all know about Kannapolis. They're known for their the power bats.
What's crazy is I have like 3 or 4 minor league hats on the ground next to my desk. Not only like so, yeah, a lot of minor league hats.
Number 1 on this board, by the way, for what it's worth, I'm not going to bore you, is the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs. That's the number 1 team on the board according to this list. There you go. Oh yeah, the Albuquerque Isotopes. They're a thing. Oh, they're a Dodgers affiliate now. There you go. Shout out to the Isotopes. Good job. The Las Vegas 51s, of course, the area 51. All right, we'll move on. Summarize pitching, Keith.
For me, it's all about the top range. I'm going to be overweight on Bieber, Gray, Lamet, and Kershaw. If I'm looking for a little savings, it's Woodruff. I'm probably going to stay out of the low range. So really, it's pay up for pitching tonight, and then I'm going to find value in my bats.
All right, that's a good segue because finding value in your bats, and I see a question in chat, which is good for you, Keith, because I'm only making so many lineups tonight. And they're asking about, I'm excited about Joey Bart. We're all excited about Joey Bart. I'm not sure if the field is. I assume it's a more educated field than it was like 5 years ago as far as playing DFS. He's 2.6K on DK. He's batting 6th, uber prospect. Keith, how much are you willing to go all in on, or like what ownership percentage would you have if you MME a guy like Joey Bart, a catcher, or is you one of those guys like whatever my stack is, that's my catcher? What's your thought process here?
Yeah, I love to stack the catcher in my stack, so I'm not going to have 100%. Right now, we're showing his ownership at 4%. That's going to come up as we get closer to lock. I would be 10 times. I'd feel comfortable putting Barton probably 40-50% of my lineups. I mean, the value is too good. He has immense power. This is a top prospect. The price is right. I'm all in.
Yeah, I think Severino and Vasquez are kind of sort of someone if you want to just be different. When you have the money, we talked about playing a guy like Gausman, you can open it up if you want to spend up on catchers. It's not the most elite of catchers, but two of the better catchers on this slate from a skill perspective. Stevie, I assume you're on Team Bart. Tell me otherwise for like your standard like optimal lineup. But what are we doing for tournaments?
Listen, I probably will have Bart on at least two of my three teams on DraftKings. I'm stacking Oakland, so I want to see like who's catching for Oakland. Like
Sean Murphy.
Sean Murphy. So like I'm gonna play Murphy in my Oakland stack. So like he'll be my other guy. Nobody likes to hitter batting ninth. But Sean Murphy is a guy that can bang out a home run or two. So yeah, I think that Murphy is someone that I like. I originally liked Cisco a lot. He's not in the lineup. Severino's in the lineup. So, like, if you're going to pay up, I think he's your option. Like Severino batting fourth against Eovaldi. There's a lot of home run upside there. But it's such a great day to pay down. There's so many, like, you have Carson Kelly. You have Joey Bart, Austin Barnes. There's a lot of catchers on the bottom end. Joe Odom, minimum salary against Kershaw.
Joe Odom?
Yeah, batting ninth, for Seattle,
Okay. I don't think I don't know if I'm aware of Joe Odom. Is he new to baseball?
There's an awesome Thai restaurant by us called Odom, but outside of that, I don't know who Joe Odom is.
All right, fair enough. Bo Taylor is a person that's playing catcher tonight for Cleveland. But yeah, it's just a gross position, and maybe all the ownership just shuffles to Bart. I mean, people might just play Bart because he's the cheapest guy. They don't know who he is. He's like 2.6K. You talk about Joe Odom, but like who wants to pick on Kershaw? Batting ninth at home, he might only get like 3 legit at bats. All right, catcher's gross. Let's move on to catcher. First base, which is also kind of sort of gross. Stevie, what are we doing at first base?
Listen, you're not playing Joey Votto. I'm so excited that Joey Votto is batting leadoff today that I don't have to play him in my stack because I can go 2 through 6 instead. So I love Nunez at first base today. Eovaldi's a guy that gives up a lot of home runs to both sides. Nunez is a guy that's shown a ton of power against righties and lefties. The Red Sox bullpen is trash. So I like Nunez and Wilmer Flores a lot today. And you obviously can play Flores at second, but kind of fits in some builds at, first base as well. So, those are the two guys that I'm mainly focused on. Mitch Moreland, I think I have him on one of my teams that I built. Because I love the Red Sox-Baltimore game.
Yeah, my first baseman that I'm looking at right now is Wilmer Flores. I'm both DK and on FanDuel. FanDuel, I think he's 2.5. DK, he's 3.8. You can also throw him at second base if you'd like. Carlos Santana, don't mind him. Not a great ballpark, but, like, again, it's not a lot of options. The Dodgers are pretty interesting for stacks. Bellinger and Muncy, the lefty on lefty versus Kikuchi. Who knows how long he's going to go coming back from the IL. And again, you're locked in for 9 innings, no matter how poor the game is going or how bad the game's going. By the way, did anybody catch Muncy's ejection yesterday? Completely absurd. Whatever. Somebody in chat probably know that they felt my pain, but it was ridiculous. He just mumbled something, and like nobody's even there. It's like an ump show. Whatever. All right, we'll move on. Keith, first baseman, get me out of my little rant about Muncy.
I like Moreland up at the top. Ohtani as well. We talked about that bullpen in San Francisco. Nunez is a great play. I'm on Baltimore a little bit as well. Flores, the Giants are going to be one of my highest owned stacks. I'm all over Flores. I like Christian Walker as well, right there in that same price range. I'm on Arizona a little bit today too. Yeah,
CJ's brother, Kevin Crone, he was leading off the other day. He's 2.2K on DK. If you need salary savings, he's got some power to spat. It's not a great ballpark, obviously, but he's 2.2K. You can't be too picky. And, again, if you want to spend up in other spots, and Walker, like you said, Walker's got plenty of pop too. Arizona collectively as a team, for whatever reason, is just
very
really
cheap.
Priced down. Yeah, like that's a cheap stack you can make work with double barrel. I'm assuming you were kind of hinting at it before, Keith. Is that one of the teams you have your eye on? Like stack Arizona with 2 great pitchers, and like
absolutely.
It's not that hard. Yeah. Yep. Not that Manaea like you have to pick on, but like he can give up 3 homers. That's definitely in play, and there's some legit bats in that lineup. Keystone position, Keith. Second base. Open up second for us.
Ketel Marte is the top play on the board for me. I don't mind Tommy La Stella, Mike Moustakas. You can play Flores at second as well. That price is too cheap. Cronenworth way down at the bottom. Stevie's guy, but I definitely like him. Kike Hernandez against the lefty.
Yeah, that's what I currently have right now. I'm always a little bit cautious about the guys getting pinch hit. He's one of those guys that could potentially get a hook if a righty comes in there. But you never really know. He can get there in his first at bat, and you're like, well, why didn't I roster him? So, I never guessed that right. But he's definitely in the conversation for if I need some salary savings. Hernandez at 3.4K, no issues with that. Stevie, second base, again, kind of a gross slate. Can you make what do they say? A lemonade out of lemons? Yeah, there you go. I think that's the saying. That's the kids saying? Something like that. Make some lemonade.
Yeah, I like Moose in my Cincinnati stack. I think that Wainwright has some regression coming. Talked really in depth about it on the morning grind today about like how some of the numbers just don't line up for him. Flores, we talked about him, but like I like Cronenworth and Chad Pinder on the cheaper side. I love Chad Pinder against lefties. I like Oakland today. They're a stack that's coming in around like 7% team ownership wise. And then like on FanDuel, I have some Aliberto, in my Baltimore stacks. Like he's not in my Baltimore stack on DraftKings. I think he's a little too pricey, opportunity cost wise. So Jake Cronenworth, man, 2.5K. Like Dean, you talked about like your second base cash game. Like Cronenworth is the easy cash play, Dean. Don't overthink this. Like this guy, he just hits. Like he just hits. That's all he does. Like ever since he got called up, like he had a bat in his hand and people were throwing baseballs and he just kept hitting them. Like that's all he does. So
I still can't embrace that last name. It's just I have a bias against him. It's just
like the guy, like honestly, like oh man, I think he had a couple games against the Dodgers where he didn't hit the ball, but like outside of that, the guy is just like his contact rate and everything is just crazy high. So he's awesome. And Kyle Gibson is a good pitcher, and like I get that. I feel like this is the spot like to play Cronenworth. I'm gonna pull it up really quick. Look, I'm putting Devin to work here. Cronenworth's contact rate is 85.2% with 54.3% hard contact.
It's a small sample size, Stevie. What's the sample?
Who cares? He's just hitting. That's all he's doing. I'm going to keep hitting.
Derek Carty cares. He'll tell you in 25 minutes.
Derek Carty's going to tell you that Cronenworth's just hitting too.
He needs to see 9,937 more batted
do you know how excited I was to see Cheese is Good had Cronenworth as a core play today? Like that's where it's at, Dean. Like everybody jump on board. Welcome to my train.
And that's specific to DK, I would imagine, right?
Because it is. I haven't looked on FanDuel yet.
And by the way, you mentioned Pinder. Over under, how many bats is Pinder going to get today? 2.5.
He only needs one, Dean. Only needs one.
Well, no. I mean, I like opportunity. That's the most.
Nope.
I like the guys that get 5 at bats, not the guys that get 2 at bats.
I like the guy that's like 2%, 3% owned in my Oakland stack. That's what I like. That is going to bang out a home run. They're gonna keep guys on the bench because they're up by so much. So,
give us a final thought here, Keith, as far as second base, and then feel free to open up third.
I don't really have anything else at second. I like Marte a lot at the top. I mentioned that he's 4K. That he's coming in a little bit below Moustakas. So, if you're not going cheap with Cronenworth, I think it's Marte.
Yeah, and what's your thoughts as far? Are you a sample size guy? Like, what's your? Are you somewhere between Stevie and Carty, like most people are, I imagine.
Yeah, I'm somewhere in the middle. Cronenworth was a decent prospect coming up, though, so I think he's pretty legit. I think he's.
You tell him, Keith. Tell him he hits the baseball. That's all you got to do in baseball. You got to hit the damn baseball.
He's just really cheap. That's what I know. So like that's good enough for me. And I think he sticks around for the entire game, and the position kind of stinks. So. If I'm not playing Wilmer at second, I might play Cronenworth and save some salary. You sold me. I'm on board with that. Third base, hot corner. Keith, who's jumping out for you?
Devers up there at the top in a great matchup in Baltimore. Jose Ramirez, you can always play. Rendon in that San Francisco ballpark. Tough matchup against Gossman, but we talked about the bullpen. Suarez, I like against Wainwright. Let's see here. I like Turner. Moving down a little bit, like the price on him. Cheap guy I'm on is Evan Longoria. We've talked about Giants already a couple times. I love the Giants tonight, and you can play Nunez over here as well.
Devers is an interesting case because he's egregiously underpriced on FanDuel. On DK, he's like appropriately priced at 5.4, but FanDuel I want to say is like 2.7 or 2.8. I don't know what his ownership's going to be over there, but it's going to be huge. It's going to be a big number for sure. And he probably isn't the highest scoring third baseman. Who is it going to be? I don't know. Probably not Devers. I'll take the field over Devers. I just don't know who it's going to be out of the field. Stevie, your thought, Devers, you're a Boston guy. Is he your play today, or you have somebody else at third?
Like, he's the guy on FanDuel. It's like him and Verdugo are like way underpriced on FanDuel. Like those are two of the most mispriced guys on the slate over there. But I like, man. So like I like Suarez in my Cincinnati stack. I like Rio Ruiz in my Baltimore stack. I think Evan Longoria is super cheap, batting fourth. Like if you're on the Giants, so I think it really comes down like third base to me. It's all about roster construction today. I think there's a lot of good plays. You have Justin Turner at the top. So like Matt Chapman at the top. There's a bunch of great plays. So for me, I think third base is really going to come down to more of like who my main stack is on that team. And like, that's probably who I'm going to end up at third base. And like, I think two of my three FanDuel teams have two third basemen on them. So I think third base is a really strong position today.
Yeah, amongst a lot of positions that are kind of sort of shaky, I don't disagree. It's a little more loaded. I feel like we've neglected Cleveland to some extent. We've kind of given a little bit of love, but Cleveland, a bad ballpark, and like Williams is a guy you don't necessarily want to go out of your way to pick on. He's one of those, for me, like I don't want to roster him. I don't really want to pick on him. It's one of those games that's happening in a forest, but I don't know if it makes a sound, that kind of thing, where it's like a 4-3 or 5-4, and like nothing really eventful happens. But on this slate, there's not a lot going on. I don't mind some J-Ram, maybe stacking up with Lindor. And, of course, we know Reyes has plenty of pop as well, too, in the outfield. All right, let's jump back to shortstop. Stevie, open it up for us.
Sorry, I was looking at fun facts on Jake Cronenworth. Shortstop. Like, did you know, like, he's played a lot of first base this year, too? I didn't realize that. Shortstop, like, the shortstop's easy, right? Like, how many times can I play Fernando Tatis Jr.? Like, he's the hottest hitter. Like, he's hitting everything hard. He's the guy that, like, if you're not paying up for him, like, there's a lot of opportunity cost at shortstop today. There's a lot of cheap bats across every position. Like, if you want to pay down, I like Nick Ahmed against Sean Manaea. Nick Ahmed, like, hits lefties really well. Might only get like 2 at bats against the lefty, which is kind of worrisome, but they won't like pull him. So like you'll still get at bats. You just won't get like left-handed quality at bats. So I'm paying up for Tatis as much as I can. Marcus Semien and Oakland stacks. But yeah, I think this is a day to get as much Tatis as possible.
My current shell lineup on DK does not have Tatis. I'm a little bit concerned about that, but we do live in the world of salary cap. You know when I'm spending up in our spots, so I love him. I think he's awesome. If I can make it work, I'm going to do my best to make it work. And, of course, we're not up 0% of him. How much are you prioritizing Tatis there, Keith? And if not Tatis, where else are you going?
Yeah, it's going to be Tatis for me. A pretty strong priority. This guy, 20 years old, just looks like he's the next Mike Trout. I mean, he's going to be in that level along with Juan Soto. He's the guy for me. You can always play Lindor. You touched on Cleveland. I don't love the park or the matchup for them, but you can always play Lindor. Bogarts is the guy with the great matchup up here at the top. If you're looking cheap, I like both the Dodgers guys, Chris Taylor and Kiki Hernandez. You can both play at shortstop.
That's who I currently have. I think one of those guys or both of those guys in my shell lineup currently, but things do change after we get off the show for sure. I'm trying to see if anybody else is kind of cracking the lineup for us. Sogard batting 6th. It's weird. I feel like we see Sogard either leading off or batting 9th. He's batting 6th today. Just thought that was a
Dean.
Yeah.
As much as you are talking about like at bats, like how do you have the Dodgers guys like Kiki and Taylor are like prime pinch hit like guys like you preaching the at bats over here?
I'm
like
a hypocrite. You got
like
me.
a righty comes in and Chris Taylor's up with guys on. Like Corey Seager's getting the call. Like go get my lefty that's mashing the ball this year. Like it's Dave Roberts. He pinch hits more than anybody in baseball. Like.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I'm just trying to help a friend out. That's all. I'm just trying to help a buddy out.
Might only go like 4 innings, and like we might see a righty for Kiki a second at bat. Like that's possible.
Second at bat, he probably hits.
Yeah, he probably sticks around. But yeah, it's definitely a concern. And like Jock is lurking. The Jock and Seager are 2 big power bats. The Dodgers have a better bench than most, especially today. So. It's something that I've considered. Maybe I didn't consider enough, but you got me. Let's move on.
Hey,
to
listen, Devin just summed it up perfect. Friends don't let friends ignore pinch hit risk. Like, you were trying to help me out. I'm trying to help you out. Friends don't let friends play Jokic either. So, like, we're just all
Jokic
trying to.
Why wouldn't you mess with the Joker?
He is a great real life basketball player. He is a terrible DFS play. Anyway, who do you like in outfield, Dean?
Yeah. So tell me about this. JD Martinez, he had dehydration the other day.
Yesterday. Yeah.
Is he properly hydrated tonight?
Like, I'm a little concerned about it. Like, you know, I think that on top of like his hitting woes right now, paying $5,600 for a guy, it's really tough. Like, to like, you could do it. Obviously, I think you can do it like in your stacks because he's just such a great hitter in general. But like, how do you justify playing him over like Mookie Betts or Mike Trout? Like, I know Gausman has pitched well, but Mike Trout's the best hitter in baseball. So, like, how do you argue that? Or like going down, like my boy Santander is the best play on the slate. So
Santander is awesome. Yeah, he's just raking. He had 2 homers off Scherzer the other day. And between those 2 home runs, he tried to bunt for a base hit. He doesn't know how good he is. Yeah, I like him a good bit today against Eovaldi. He's definitely in the conversation. I think is it Mr. Steal Your Girl, the flirter, Jesse Winker? He's batting third, 3.4K. That's an underprice. And Trent Grisham at 3.1K on DK specific. Like, both those prices are really, really good, which makes it tricky because maybe I don't have to spend up for JD Martinez and I should delegate some funds to one Fernando Tatis at shortstop. That's kind of the dilemma I'm at. I was kind of going back and forth in that. If you can kind of piece together my lineup, you see what's going on there. Keith, jump in here. Let's in a vacuum. Do you have JD Martinez or do you have Tatis? I understand different positions, but you understand the concept.
In a vacuum, Tatis.
Yeah,
all right.
I'm with him. Yeah.
Some outfielders you like, Keith?
Trout and Betts up top. I like Yelich today against Berrios. I like Berrios as a pitcher, but Yelich on the correct side of the platoon is going to have an opportunity to showcase some power. As a tournament one-off, or even in my giant stacks, I'm definitely not leaving out Mike Yastrzemski. This guy has crushed lefties, and if he doesn't get the lefty, he's going to have a couple chances against a bad bullpen. So I'm going to have plenty of Yastrzemski. You mentioned Grisham. I really like for cheap, and Winker as a value.
Well, let's throw in the conversation Albert Clifford, AC Slater, Austin Slater, 3.2K. I think he's interesting as well, leading off. Amongst those 3, Grisham, Slater, and Winker, can you rank those?
For cash, it's going to be Grisham, I think, first, and then Winker, and then Slater.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm kind of going back and forth. I think Grisham's my favorite amongst those 3. Winker's one of those guys. Cincinnati's one of those teams. They will swap guys in and out, and he may get the hook if a lefty comes in. Stevie, do you have a thought as far as those cheapies, Grisham, Winker, or Slater?
Man, like, I think they're all really good plays. I think it'd be Slater, Grisham, Winker, all really strong. Like, all 3 of those guys are in lineups that I built. So I like all 3 of those guys. Yeah.
By the way, we just haven't picked any Minnesota guys. Just sort of throwing it out there. I know we like Woodruff, but there's plenty of pop in that team. Here's a prediction for you. Yelich, you said he's going to walk his first at bat. Just put it in the books. Yelich walk, maybe on 5 pitches, maybe 4, probably 5. He's going to throw 1 strike on 3 of them, and he's not going to swing because the rules.
I also, really quick, I think we should, I already mentioned it kind of, but Verdugo is way too cheap on FanDuel.
Yep.
Is he good, or we don't know yet?
He's been good. He was good with the Dodgers last year. Like, I don't see a reason not to think that, like, we shouldn't be paying, what is it, 2.7K for the leadoff hitter against Wojciechowski, like, and that Baltimore bullpen. Like, you know, if he's good or not, like, you're still getting a guy that's probably going to get 5 at bats in one of the highest totals on the slate.
Yeah, for sure. We're up against the clock. Let's talk about some stacks. Stevie, give me a few stacks you like, and maybe a dude or two that's going to bang out a homer.
Baltimore, Boston, obviously I already kind of said that, but I like Oakland and Cincy. You know, for home runs, give me Moustakas, Nick Ahmed, and Santander. I got to take my guy.
All right, Keith, see those stacks, see those homers, and raise them.
I'm stacking up San Francisco. I'm stacking up Arizona. I do like Baltimore as well, and Cincinnati as well. To hit
Who's going to bang out a homer?
Evan Longoria.
There you go. Stay tuned for Crunch Time. Crunch Time next with Cardi, with Tuttle and Roth. Cardi will tell you about all the sample sizes you need to hear about. By the way, if you guys are premium members, of course, that shows for premium members only here at RG. But we've added stacks to what we have, like our rankings as far as our favorite players by positions. Now we individually we're adding our favorite stacks to. I believe myself and Keith and Cheese and a few other people participated. That we just rolled out today. All right, we got to go because that was it's 5:20 in Tennessee, 6:20 on the East Coast, 3:20 on the West Coast, which of course means it's time to leave. That was Keith. That was Stevie. I was Dean. This was definitely baseball. We're out of here. Holler.